There it is. It's just that simple. Dun, dun, dun. Hi, now I have to make sure that I mute it over here. You know when everybody like goes live and it's so flawless? Do you ever watch those and it's like everything is perfect and it's all good?
That's not real.
Live does it take me like 4 minutes to get ready with this?
And you got to adjust, make sure everything looks nice.
Because I want to make sure that like people are joining. I know that some people have a system that like for the first 2 minutes they like don't speak. And they're just like, and I think that's really weird. So I don't know if you'll ever watch a live video like that, but it's funny to me because they'll really be like this.
Because they're just waiting for people to get on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Why wouldn't they talk?
I don't know. It makes me so nuts.
So if I mute my computer,
I think that's really weird. Look, but then that happens. Do you hear what just happened? Do you hear it?
No.
My new text. No, it's fine. I like to now also, for the record, I like to put our comments up myself so then I could see what's happening. Because even though I know Laura's behind the curtain, that's that. All right.
Oh, so you were just on Facebook. I see.
So I have to mute it. So now everybody's joining in the party and it's super fun. So hey, officially, right now we can begin. Now instead of just standing like this. Now we're live.
Hey everybody.
I love it. We need somebody in California so that we could literally be.
We could simulcast on all coasts.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important. Today we are talking about safety. And we love to joke at Twiniversity, right? And we have a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, safety is really the priority of ours and our kids. I've learned a few mistakes safety-wise myself. You too, Jewel, or not so much? You did everything perfect from the jump? No. We don't want you guys making the same mistakes that we did. So we're talking about safety today. I have my wonderful mug. Julie, did you ever see this mug?
No. You have a mug for your book?
I have a mug for my book, but wait. Could you read what this says? Could you read it?
Mrs. Campbell. I've seen that mug. Yuck, Mrs. Campbell. That was that review you got on Goodreads from that guy who was like, this book is horrible. You should never read this. This woman is
accountable.
Like, what did I don't get it. Why did they even say that?
They were saying it because I was talking about like people do different things with their placenta. And then I was talking about like placenta encapsulation. And she said that it was a quote that said, yuck, Mrs. Cannibal. And so my mouse bought me this cup. And yeah, so please, if you read the book, feel free to go on Goodreads. I am fine with being called Mrs. Cannibal. I don't mind. It's my all-time favorite review. It is, and it's long. Like it's long. Like this chick like took some time.
Was it a man or a woman? I thought it was a man.
I think it was a man's name, but it was a woman's picture.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she was a Middle Eastern woman or man. We don't actually even know, but she hates me. So there you go. I feel like I'm doing something right. So yeah, so that apparently it's not safe to read your own book reviews is the first thing. Julie tells me that all the time. I'm never allowed to read it.
It's not good for your mental health.
I got a tickle in my throat, so I wanted to make sure that I had something. So let's jump in, and I really do want to talk about safety. And if you're like, Nat, how exciting that Julie's here today. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but Julie's our new resident car seat safety expert. Yay! Everybody say congratulations, Jewel.
Oh, I should get my card. I didn't print it out yet, but I actually got the email over the weekend to print out, because then I could have a card in my wallet and I could be like, child passes your safety technician.
Is that what
your child is not strapped in properly?
Please, could you get it? Could you get it in like one of those wallets that like open?
It's like a card.
Hold it up in front of people's windows. What are you going to do with that, though? Like when a cop pulls you over and you'll be like, officer,
roll down your window. I need to see your car. But I got to tell you, because there was a lot of cops in the class, and there were some cops that were also trained, like our instructors in the class. Yeah. And some of them were like, sometimes I've seen people like with kids that don't even have car seats or like completely wrong, and they'll pull them over to be like, I need you to know that this is how you're supposed to do it. I'll let you off. But just start to they're on a mission. from God to like make sure that children stay safe, which like, thank God for them. Because so many people have no idea just how important proper car seat installation and harnessing is. And they just think, meh, you know, well, I'm fine. I lived through it. It's like, well, yeah, but a lot of people didn't. And there are a lot more cars on the road nowadays than when we were kids.
Yes.
So that adds to it.
Okay, can I stop you for 1 second? Somebody, it's bothering somebody that I said that the woman was Middle Eastern. If the review is written by somebody that proclaimed themselves as a Southerner or as a Californian or wherever, it was just how she said it in the review. It had nothing. It wasn't picking anybody out. So I just want to clearly state that's how they address themselves. So that's that. Sorry, Jewel, how to say it, because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm certainly not picking on anybody. And anybody's entitled to criticize me.
You pick on everyone equally.
Yes, I do. Well, it's not, they were picking on me. I wasn't picking on anybody. I certainly wasn't. I never go after anybody. Do I? Do I ever pick on people?
No, you're usually pretty like.
Only my own kids. That's it.
Your children, right.
It's with my children all the time.
They really deserve it.
So let's talk about strap safety, because strap safety is a big one. And, you know, I know that in hindsight, that probably 100% of the time my kids were not strapped in correctly in their car seats. And so you were telling me that with the seminar that you took, that it was alarming how many people do not install their car seat or have their children incorrectly. So what are some things that you think people are doing? And tell us about that.
Well, first of all, 72 to 90% of people are either installing their car seats incorrectly or using them incorrectly, which was an alarming rate. But that includes even more minor things like maybe not tightening the harness enough. Or it could be more major things like not even using a car seat at all, which in this day and age, you would be surprised, you know, at just how many people don't even use car seats, or they will skip steps. Like they have it in their mind that, oh, only my infant needs a car seat. And then once they outgrow that infant car seat, then they just go straight to a seatbelt. Like some people just have no idea. They just never got the education. They just do what their families did. A lot of times, you know, a lot of families come from other countries and maybe they never grew up with having car seats at all in their country. So then they just kind of try to pick it up, but they don't really know what to do. So that's number one, is to make sure that your kids are using the correct car seat every time, all the way up until they're able to just use the seatbelt.
Okay.
But you know, common mistakes being, you know, not harnessing your child into the seat tightly enough. There's something called a pinch test. And what a pinch test is you tighten the harness and you really want it flush to your child's body. And then you pinch the strap. If you can pinch the strap, then it's too loose. You shouldn't be able to pinch the strap. That's what the pinch test is. So like, but you have to do it up here, right here on like the chest area. You take the strap and you try to do this. You try to pinch it. If you can pinch it, too loose. Then tighten it a little bit more. And then once you can't pinch it anymore, it's perfect, okay? Another common mistake is not putting up that retainer clip, also known as the chest clip.
Yes.
That chest clip needs to be aligned with the armpits.
Okay.
It's really important that you put, so the chest clip is there to make sure that the seatbelt is aligned properly so that it doesn't slip off the shoulders. So if you have the chest clip down too far, then the seatbelt could be pushed out too far. And then in a crash, your child could be ejected from the seat. And, you know, a lot of, you know, we always kind of picture like, oh my God, what if my child is ejected from the car, which is the ultimate horror, right? But a lot of accidents, a lot of injuries can happen even if your child is just ejected from the seat halfway or, you know, just into the car. They could knock into things, you know, you're going so fast, you know, they say that like the weight of the child times the number of miles per hour you're going equals how many pounds of force you need to hold that child in place. So, you know, a 10-pound baby and you're going 30 miles per hour in a crash, you need 300 pounds of force to hold that child back.
Wow.
So isn't that incredible? It's really, and that's, you know, like people talk about like, well, I'll just hold my baby in my lap. Like they're fine. I'll hold on to them. No, because that's 300 pounds of force that then you have to be holding with your arms in order to keep your baby in your arms. And in a crash, that's just not physically possible. So harnessing, I know, poor Nat, you're like, oh my God, it sounds hard. It really is.
And then, you know, of course, we times it by 2.
Yeah.
And, you know, right now, while you're talking, it's amazing how many people are commenting about how their kids don't like to sit in the car seat when the straps are too tight. And, you know, and everybody's like, you know, I'd rather my kids be crying than, you know, have them be not safe. But, you know, I know that sometimes if your kids are like really crying and maybe it is too tight, like, is it possible to ever have the car seat be too tight?
It's possible, but you would have to really pull on it hard to make it too tight. All it has to be is flush and flat, you know, that you can't really pinch it, and that's it. You know, here's the thing. We even talked about this in class because it came up. And they said, you know, often what will happen is if you haven't been harnessing them in tight enough and then you start to, then they start to act up because they are not used to it. And so it takes a little while for them to get used to it. But if you start early, like everybody who's got like little guys, or you're still pregnant, start from day one harnessing them in snugly because it will not hurt them, but then they will get used to it from the get-go. That's what I always do with my kids. They've never complained about it being
They
too
don't know different.
They don't know any different.
But you
And they know, I explain to them that it needs to be that snug.
Yes.
And I sometimes will even blame the police. I will say
it is though, but
they're scared of, they're not scared of police, but they know the police are the authority. If we get pulled over, we could get a ticket.
Because we're not the authority. That's the funniest part. Like to the children, we have to upsell somebody else because of that. But you know, it's not only the straps with the car seat. It's also the straps with the stroller, with the high chair. If they don't get used to using those straps, they're not going to want to use them. And you know, I feel like car seat straps, it's a given, right? You know that you're wearing your seatbelt so that you know that the kids have to wear their car seat straps, but it's just making sure that it's correct is the big deal. And I feel for the moms that are talking about, you know, how their kids hate it. And then also you get a little bit of that mob mentality, right? Because if one kid, like if you do loosen the harness on one, right? Because one's like, but you know, sometimes truthfully, kids have sensory issues or whatnot, and they might not want to feel that. But see, where you use the cops, I just have that term deal breaker.
Deal breaker.
Right? So there's certain things that are deal breakers. I don't know why my kids think that, but we've been using that term for a really long time when it comes to anything. Like it's a deal breaker, man. Like you got to do it. Not that my babies knew what a deal breaker was, but I suppose they just know the word means.
Right. Well, because you're very, you know, I like to think of myself as a flexible parent. You know, there's some things that you just have to choose your battles. Some things I'm going to lose, but things like car seat safety walking, you know, through the parking lot, crossing the street, you must hold my hand. We must look both ways before we cross. Like these are givens, like these, you do not mess with this procedure. Like this is happening. So a couple tips for parents who are having problems with their kids, you know, make a reward system, make a reward chart, you know, maybe if they harness themselves in, you know, every time correctly that day, they get a sucker. Maybe if they do it 7 days in a row, they get a crappy little toy from the dollar store. In order, you know, and reward systems, you know, it doesn't hurt if your children are really having a hard time transitioning to wearing a tighter harness. You know, why not? What else was I going to say?
Well, we got some questions. A question came in just now. Feathers flying around my head. But a question came in about Lindsay was saying that she lives in Europe and they use almost exclusively public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So here in New York City, because she was like, you know, in New York City, what do you do? So in the city, we use public transportation too. And it's funny because everybody thinks that it's so difficult to get places in the beginning. But in the beginning, you're using the infant car seat carriers anyway. Yes. So you could jump on public transportation with your infant car seat carriers because you already have your car seat. As far as when they get bigger, there's a lot of different, you know, transportation companies that will provide a car seat for you. And there's even services in New York City. I think one is called Kid Car. That's all that they do is shuttle children around, and they have convertible car seats. I'd be so curious to know if those car seats were installed correctly. Yeah. But that's why
they're supposed to be trained to do it, but
yeah, I know that they're supposed to be trained, but I'm thinking, you know, like if it's in like an Uber driver or something, and he happens to have car seats, you know, I don't think that I don't know if they'd be held accountable for it being installed incorrectly.
Well, I feel like the parents, I mean, there's some general things that you can look for to determine if a car seat is installed properly that goes across all brands. You know, really, we talked a lot in class about how, you know, at the end of the day, all of these car seats are tested by the manufacturers and they have to live to certain standards. They have to meet those standards in order to still be on the market. So even if you have the cheapest seat, you know, there are certain things that you as the parent can look for. Well, you'll know if it's installed correctly. Number one, the wiggle test. So your seat should not move more than 1 inch from side to side and from front to back. It should be solidly tight in there. Another thing is that you should only use the seat belt or the lower anchors of the latch system. You should not use both. It's
Why?
too much.
Overkill.
It's too much because it wasn't meant to be used that way. That is part of how the seats were made. And so if you use both systems, it's just not as safe. Just choose one or the other.
Yeah, one might negate the other. Like if you have the strap belt and the latch isn't going to work correctly, it might loosen up the latch. So yeah, so one or the other, either the latch system or the shoulder belt.
And they are both equally safe. But you should always use, if you're forward facing, you should always use the top tether at a tether point. Okay. This was something I learned, was that we were wrapping our top tether for our forward facing convertible seats. We were wrapping it around the headrest because I thought, well, I couldn't find the tether point that they were talking about, but really I should have consulted my car's manual, not just the car seat manual. Both manuals must be used together to make sure you've got a proper installation. It turns out in my minivan, I've got a Toyota Sienna, and we use the second row, which is 2 captain's chairs. It was in the back, all the way on the bottom. There was a hook that you could, there was a bar to latch onto for the tether. I didn't even know that was there. And my technicians were looking at my seats and they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to wrap it around the headrest because in a crash, that could become a projectile. Because if the seat detaches, because it's not supposed to be anchored to the headrest can then go flying and, you know, it's got metal, you know, pieces attached to it. So you don't want that to happen. Am I stressing you out? Do you need to take a Xanax or something?
Really? Honestly, it really does. And then Amy's on with us from the JPMA, and Amy just posted something, and I literally want to like stop the world because I want to read what she just said. Because if you guys are not reading the comments, because, you know, you're watching us and maybe you're watching this from your mobile device or whatever. But first of all, hi, Amy. And Amy just said that they surveyed 200 parents, okay? And out of the 200 parents, 93% strapped their baby into a car seat. So
strap them into incorrectly?
No. It just says strap them into the car seat. The end. So there is it's a tiny percentage of parents that somehow thinks that just having their car seat is a seat and not someplace. Okay, so that was just the car seat.
Wait. So you mean like the car seat wasn't attached to the car?
I don't know if it wasn't that. Amy, if you know like the specifics, I'd love to know what the question was.
Because they mentioned that in class. They're like, you would be amazed. Sometimes people show up with a bouncy chair that their kid's riding in.
Julie, I really can't. I don't know if it's me because I had, you know, medically fragile kids and I felt like I was carrying like an egg. You ever like in high school, like get an egg and that was your baby? I did not do that. However, I saw it on plenty of after school specials.
Yes, that's where I saw it.
But I felt like, but when I took the babies home, that's what I felt like. I felt that they were these tiny little fragile eggs and I needed to do everything and forget about the 300 pounds of pressure to keep them in their seat. I mean, I wouldn't even think that would be enough. Okay, so 93% strap their baby correctly into a car seat. So only 75% strap them into the stroller. So here's like another funny thing because people aren't using their stroller straps either. Like, guys, why do you think that they're giving you those straps? I have actually seen people who have cut the straps off the stroller because their kids don't like it. But it goes back to like Julie said, and if you notice, like I get a tiny bit militant when it comes to safety, especially when it comes to strap safety, which is a tongue twister, because I cannot tell you, I'm going to say more than a dozen times I have witnessed twins in a tandem stroller that's in the configuration where they're facing each other. I have seen one kick the other in the face multiple times. And it's if that child was wearing their shoulder straps, there's no way that they could get forward enough to get a face full of foot. But like I've seen it to the point of like blood that these kids do it. And that nobody's like trying to like really kill their twin. It's just like they're playing and, you know, my feet are flopping around and we're having a nice day at the park. And then everything takes a turn for the worse. So it bothers me so much when people don't use their straps. And I think, well, for the 75%, you know, that's still pretty good. I still think that,
you know, my children are almost 5 and we still use our stroller when we go to big places like the zoo. And I still use the straps for 2 reasons. One, because one of my kids once jumped out of the stroller when I wasn't looking and the canopies were blocking him. So he was like not even in the stroller. And I'm just like walking away, do. All of a sudden, here comes Alec running up next to me like, hi, mommy. And I'm like, holy freaking crap. I almost just lost my kid, number one. You know, they're fast and they can be really sneaky. So keep them strapped in just to keep them in the stroller, especially when they're really a lot older. And also, if the stroller tips over, then they'll stay in the stroller better. That was another thing. Because, you know, even though my kids can handle themselves really well in the stroller, I never know if I'm going to accidentally tip it or if somebody might knock into me and tip it over or whatever. And so those are the
well, Angela was just saying that. Angela was just saying, hi, Angela. She was saying that her daughter flipped over in her high chair, but she was strapped in so tight that she didn't budge.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
It's one of those things that you never think that it's important. Like I'm getting genuinely like uncomfortable talking about this because it bothers me. Okay, now here's another thing about stroller straps. I have witnessed at Disney. Okay, picture this. Disney, everybody's super excited. You know, they have their strollers. The kids are they're not strapped in because you're getting in and out so quick. Okay, yes. Now here comes Mickey. That kid throws themselves out. And now if you're moving and the kid is getting out, that kid just got run over. That kid totally just got run over. So you're like, that won't happen to me, or that couldn't happen. I really wish that my husband was up because he could tell you, like, we watch this and we're like, she's going down. We're just going to watch it. Because now you can't yell. There's too many people there. But we're like, another one's going down, you know?
So what happened? Did the kid just go like boom and they just rolled over him?
They rolled right over them. I can't tell you. And I don't know if Disney, if people just lose their minds.
It's so easy to, especially if the canopies are fully extended and you can't really see the first like couple feet ahead of you. I swear to God, Nat, that has almost happened to me. That's when I was like, you know what, I really need to strap them in because I have one guy in particular who likes to keep jumping out. And if he's not, but we had to have a serious talk after. I scared the crap out of him, I'm pretty sure. But I told him, I almost lost you forever. And he was like, and then he finally took me seriously. And then now he asked to be strapped in because he doesn't want to get lost. Once he realized just how close he was to getting lost, now he's like, which is good because, you know, he was a little too confident in going to a big place. You know, I don't want to scare my children, but they need to have a healthy level of like safety where they know that if we're, you know, they can't just run off to go look at another exhibit. If we're one place, they need to know we always stick together. And that's a huge thing I always talk to my kids about is, you know, we are a team. We do not go off on our own because I'm with them a lot on my own, going to various places, the museum, the zoo, and we're always a team. And you have to ask permission before we move on to the next place.
Oh, Julie, you don't even want to see the comments. You don't even want to read them. So now,
I feel like I'm in bliss. I don't know. I'm ignorant.
Well, everybody, ignorance is bliss until your kid gets hurt. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Rary, should I have been doing that? Amanda's talking about how people don't strap their kids in shopping carts. So when you go food shopping, you put your kid in, he reaches up to get Captain Crunch or whatever. I don't even know what a kid would try to get. Anything, really. Anything that was shiny is what the kid is going to get. And then they could take a tumble. So you have to remember to always strap your kids in. Oh my God, something
specifically on the the baskets at the, what do you call them? Carts.
Yes.
There are so many carts at the grocery store where the seatbelt is broken.
Yes.
But
you could buy covers and you could buy things, and those carts, there's shopping cart covers. Do they have a strap in them, like an independent thing, or they don't?
I don't think so. I think you just put it over and then you thread the straps for the that come with the shopping cart.
I'm bringing a bungee cord with me from now on.
There you go, bungee those kids in.
God, if I had a nickel for every time I bungee corded my kids in something, I don't even want to talk about it. But like, if they not really bungee, but
we have a couple of questions that came in specifically about car seats.
Okay.
And we also, just before we get to them, I also want to just make sure. So we talked about that you only use the seatbelt or the lower anchors for the latch system, but you use the tether for both if you're front facing.
Yes.
Okay? But if you're rear facing, you do not use the top tether. That is no longer a thing anymore. It used to be a thing, but now they recommend not, because with the rear facing seat, when you are in a crash, you want it to go down and then come back up, because then it cradles the child's head and neck and spinal cord, and then it pops back. You want a little bit of movement, and it will come back up, but then it'll flop back down again. Okay. So that's what we want to have happen.
Hold on, before you ask a question, I want to just say thank you, JPMA, for allowing us to host this safety intervention. That's really what we should have called it, Jewel.
Safety intervention.
We're having a safety intervention.
We have a banner, intervention.
That's it. It's our safety intervention. And if you guys don't know, I am a huge advocate of the JPMA. And it's so funny because many of you probably don't even realize what the JPMA is. But the JPMA is a nonprofit organization. It's the Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association. That's the JPMA. It's a compilation. Do I want to call it that? Well, it's a group of over 200 prenatal and juvenile companies that, you know, are part of this great nonprofit. And what the nonprofit does is make sure that you have, you know, the safest regulations, and that there's like regulatory issues. And basically, they want to make sure that your kids and your family are the safest that they could possibly be. And when you're buying products, and you're going through, you know, Babies R Us, or you're looking at Amazon or whatever, I think that it's really important that it has that little JPMA sticker. And if you don't know what that looks like, the logo is actually on the banner above of this Facebook chat. We have, you know, where it says like, Nan and Julie are talking today, blah, blah, blah. There's the JPMA logo. That's what you're going to look for when you're starting to look for baby products. And basically, if it is part of that, it's met certain regulations, and it's another step that's going to make you sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that you are buying from a company that is, you know, really making sure that your family has the best product available. So that's what that is. So thank you so much for allowing us to do this today. And it is Baby Safety Month. So for the whole month of September, they have been talking on their website about, you know, different safety things. And today we're talking about strap safety in particular, you know, on the go and at home or wherever. And we could talk a lot about everything, but there's tons of great content over on their page, their web page, their Facebook page. So take some time today, take a look at it, because, you know, as you see by all these comments that are coming up, you know, it's really, it's sad, but not everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm going to tell you too, I'm not perfect. Julie's not perfect. We've all learned things the hard way, but our goal at Twiniversity is to not have you guys reinvent the wheel. So if we made a mistake, you made a mistake, Amanda makes a mistake, Lauren makes a mistake, learn from our mistakes, and we don't want you doing that. And safety is one of those things that you can't make a mistake. Because God forbid you do, and you don't strap them in right, or don't have their car seat installed correctly, or as you're reading from the side, not even using the straps when it comes to the high chairs, you could have a catastrophic event on your hands. It's not even like, oh, that's horrible, he really didn't like those carrots. You know, like, it's not something that's negotiable. Safety is a deal breaker. As we say in our house, safety is a deal breaker. Julie took an entire week of her life, literally a whole week, just to learn about car seat safety, so that she could come back to Twiniversity and come to our families and be like, guys, you're never going to believe it. And we think we know a lot, but we are both two people that know we don't know everything. So Julie, now we're going to say, you know, 95% or 93%, whatever it is that the families that are actually using their straps. In addition to us bringing you, oh, my nose is itchy now. In addition to us talking about safety stuff today, you guys know that we're going to have prizes, right, Jewel?
Prize time? I think it's prize time. I think we're way overdue for prize time. It's been a half an hour.
We're super, super, super overdue. I blame Laura, because Laura's supposed to remind us when prize time is supposed to be.
You know what? Laura is she's given us really great questions. We
She's
still have to
doing
get to
good.
these questions, and we will.
Well, let's do a prize, okay?
Let's do a good one.
We got a good question, or
Let's do the prize like one of the JPMA prizes that they gave us.
Ooh, look at our people. There's a piece of me, there's like a sense of pride when everybody starts yelling prize time.
I'm not even looking at any of these comments, so you have to tell me.
Because I can. Usually when I'm like on my own, every time you talk, I go and check. So yes, it is definitely prize time. Jewel, what are we giving away? Tell us.
We're giving away, this is just the first one. There's going to be more of them, by the way. One $50 Visa gift card.
$150 really?
A $50 Visa gift card. There's a couple more throughout this chat, by the way.
I want to do it. Let's give it.
What should they say?
What should they say? I think strap in for safety.
Strap in for safety. All you got to do is type.
If you would like to win a $50 Visa card, which is really generous, by the way. Thank you for APMA. Please, all you have to just say is strap in for safety. Laura is the wizard today. And Laura will, I know, don't get territorial, Jewel. We could share the title. But just like usually Julie is behind the scenes picking a winner, we literally pick a random winner. That is how it goes. There is no rhyme. There is no reason. I would love that, if you just say strap in for safety, that's how we pick it. But clearly there is like no regulations to this. So we just want you to participate and keep the conversation going. It's important to us. So now, Jewel, let's do a question.
Okay. Susan asks, when is the best time to switch from rear facing to forward facing? All right. This is a really good question because the official answer is rear face as long as you possibly can, at least 2 years of age per the American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay. But you will know when it's time to turn around because your child will max out the height on rear facing for their seat. So you will need to refer to your car seat manual. And it's probably also written on the side of your actual car seat. There are stickers all over those car seats because these car seat companies try to really make it as easy as possible for the parents. Because if you lose the manual, sure, you could look it up online, but like there might be the different versions, whatever. Look on the side of your seat. You'll learn a lot. It'll tell you what is the maximum weight and height for rear facing. And then once you've maxed out on that, then you'll want to turn the seat around. I mean, a lot of people turn it around, I think at the latest, pretty much around 4 to 5 years old, I've heard people still rear facing. The thing about rear facing is that it's safer for children because, actually safer for everyone. Astronauts go up into space rear facing, by the way. Did you know that? So I know. It's safer because it protects the head, the neck, and the spinal column. So if your child is rear facing, in a crash, everything goes forward, right? And the child will then go back into their seat where they are being cradled, okay? So your rear-facing child is actually in the safest position of everyone in the car because everybody else that's forward-facing will do this.
Yes, yes. Okay?
If your small child, your infant, is forward-facing and they're in a crash, they could really snap their spinal cord. So, you hear in the news, like, oh my God, there was a horrible car crash, and you immediately think, how many people died, right? But then you hear, oh, and there were 4 people injured. And you're probably like, oh, they're probably fine. That includes serious, like lifelong injuries. Like a lot of times, maybe a car crash may not result in a death, but it could result in your child being paralyzed for the rest of their life. Yeah. So that's why it's so important that you rear face as long as you can. And a lot of people are like, well, my kids hate it because I'm worried my children's legs are too cramped. Number one, your kids don't really know any different. Especially if they're your twins and they're your first children or your first child and they don't have a sibling that's in a bigger seat that they would even know. So that's number one. Number two, that's actually a safer position for their feet to be in because, as they get taller, their legs do kind of like a little bit of a froggy thing. And that really is safer. And there is no increased risk of breaking legs or anything from rear facing. Like studies have shown that your children are not at more risk of their legs. I'm sorry?
Swap them out or should they crisscross them?
Crisscross.
So crisscross in the seat. So sitting crisscross applesauce in the car seat is the safer way to go. I've always thought that.
Yeah, crisscross or just having their feet on the seat.
Okay. And if their knees are a little up more,
Yeah.
right?
Even if their knees are a little bent, they are still safer in a crash. Because if you think about it, if they're forward facing in a crash, you know, their legs could crash into something, or things could be flying. You know, there's actually an increased risk for forward facing for the legs, but really better for a leg to be broken than your neck to be broken. So, you know, you really have to kind of weigh these things. And, and this is perfect. A perfect example is that when my kids were about to turn 2, my parents a lot talked to me about, when can we forward face them? It's just so hard for us to get them in the seats rear facing because they had a sedan. And, my parents, they were like, in their 60s. And, it was like difficult for them to get them in and out. And so I switched them around right when they turned 2. But I wanted to rear face them longer. And I kind of wish I had pushed back on that a little more. And I wish I had done more research so that I could have shown my parents, well, this is why it's so important to rear face as long as you can, because it is the safest position. So someday they'll invent a car where we all can be riding backwards, and then
I don't understand why we're not doing that now. I was already thinking that. You're thinking in my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna just install my car the other way and just drive backwards. It makes total sense. But you bring up a good point about the grandparents, because with the grandparents, it's important that they know the proper strap safety as well. And that or not only the grandparents, anybody who's going to be watching these kids. So whether it's a nanny, an aunt, an uncle, the ladies from church, whomever it is that is going to be putting these kids in their stroller, in their car seat, in their high chair, everybody has to know that this is the rule. Because just like you were saying before, if you don't start out that way, it's not as easy to get the kids to stay in their seats. Well, with grandparents, sometimes the grandparents are like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't tell your mom or it's going to be fine. And they're not realizing, the ramifications that this is going to have, because it's not only are they putting them in danger that one time, but now they're giving them a taste of like the free life. They're like, oh, I didn't know that it could be this comfortable, so it's not the best thing, of course, for them to do that. So if you find that you need to have like a genuine, honest conversation with your parents or your in-laws or your sister, you have to do it. Like, you really have to do it. And
sometimes you have to check in on them periodically.
Yes. Oh my God, we're going to do like a secret shopper thing where we just like show up at grandma's house.
Sometimes, sometimes I'll actually almost every day I go to pick up my kids at my parents' house, and then my dad or my mom will help me strap in one of them, and then I'll do the other kid. And then when I'm getting them out of the car, I'll be like, why is this so loose? I can put my whole hand and pull this harness out. And so then I have to be like, hey guys, just so you know, it needs to be tighter. And my parents are very nice about it. I feel bad for people whose parents are really like passive aggressive or just like verbally like, well, what the hell do you want me to do about it? Or whatever. But I'm very lucky that my parents are very open to all of the, safety Nazi things I force onto them.
Listen, it is real. It's critical. It's really, really important. Okay. So now that was one of the questions that we had. What else came through?
We have so many questions. It's really, I feel like we need to have another chat about this.
We should just do car seats.
We really could do we could do a whole freaking 2-hour thing on it. I think one of her 1-year-old, Jolene asks, one of her 1-year-olds always rips the neck protector thing off. Is it for comfort or for safety? I think you mean the covers that go over the straps. And those are really just for comfort. They're really just to avoid so that there's no chafing or irritation of the strap. So those can be taken off, yes. Another question, similar, Jessica asks, are mirrors and sunshades safe? Here's the official answer. If the car seat company that made your car seat makes a product, you can use that in the car. So for example, Britax. If you have a Britax car seat and you want to get one of those mirrors so that you could see your child rear facing, get a Britax brand because it's been crash tested with the seat.
Are you positive about that?
That is what they told us 5 million times.
Okay.
In class.
Get that word from Kate.
Okay.
We're going to go to the horse's mouth on that one.
I asked them many times. They said there was a question in one of our quizzes we had to take. It was a question. Yes. So any product that car seat company comes out with, whether it be a window shade or a cup holder or anything, it was crash tested with that seat to ensure safety.
All All right. I'm
I
really.
know. And these women teaching these classes, like they're serious. They were not messing around, and they told me specific things are definite no's. Like, do not have anything in the car that's going to become a projectile.
Yes.
Anything, could be a board book. It could be a toy rattle, coming at you at 30 miles per hour.
If it's like attached to something, like let's say it has one of those linkadoos or something.
If it's attached to something, it should be okay. But really, I would say stick to soft toys in the car.
Think about that all the time. You know what's so funny? This is totally weirdly related. Did you ever see the movie Deadpool?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, if anybody saw the movie Deadpool, there's this one scene in the movie and there's this huge car crash. And the car crash is played like Matrix style in slow motion. Okay. Well, everybody else probably in the movie was captivated by just the action-packed scene.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, look at all that stuff flying around the car.
It's true. And we also talked about cargo in the back of your car, that you should be using those cargo nets to.
Is that what they're for?
That's what I said. I was like, no, I guess I should get a cargo net because I have That's another thing. Points to attach your cargo net, don't confuse them with tether points for your top tether for your seats.
Yes.
Because you should not attach your top tether to anything but a tether point that is made for a car seat, because it hasn't been crash tested with that, and it might not actually hold the car seat in place. It could break. So a lot of times people do that, or they'll connect it to the tether for the other seat position, or like don't use the lower anchors for other seat positions. You can't crisscross. You can't, if you've got the child in the center, but there's not lower anchors for the center seat, you can't use the lower anchors from like one from the right and one from the left. That's an error.
Do you know what a giant projectile is that's in my car at all time that I never thought about?
What?
That.
A dog. You're right. She could kill someone. She really could. She's 100 pounds.
I mean, I can't understand. I was like, oh, that's so dumb that dogs have seatbelts. Can I tell you, it's not so dumb right now? Because
and that's why a lot of times people will put the cage that's just like the wall behind the seat.
Yeah, I don't have that. She's got to just sit on the seat between them, but she could wear, they have seatbelts that make them, that are large enough for her. But oh my gosh, strap safety for my freaking dog.
Right, because I mean, even if you go grocery shopping, if you've got like a gallon of milk in the back of your car, you slam on your brakes, the gallon of milk comes flying over everybody's head. It could hit your children, number one. It could hit you. That's... I know, I'm laughing, but it's, it's really kind of scary. I was like, I really need to buy a cargo net for the back of my car because I can't tell you how much crap I keep back there.
Okay. On that note, let's give away another gift card. So
yes,
because for God's sake, what are we doing?
I know. Everyone's going to go home. Everyone's going to curl up into the fetal position after this live chat.
I am actually like uncomfortable.
I'm schwitzing like you wouldn't believe.
Is there like, if I go slow, right?
let's all pet the my bar mitzvah troll right now.
I don't have any trolls by me. I used to have one, a tiny one. I love me a bar mitzvah.
Happy New Year, everyone. It's Rosh Hashanah tonight.
Yes, well, we're the worst. We like to just skip Rosh Hashanah, but I was speaking to Joel yesterday, by the way, who was like, I can't talk to you because it's the holiday. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst New Yorker. I really should know the Jewish holidays like every other holiday because it's nationally celebrated.
Kids have off? I mean, they go to Catholic school.
We go to Catholic school, so we don't have off, but public schools are closed. But yeah, let's give away another gift card. So if you want prize time, just say prize time. Laura is super on it, by the way. She put up a link to a cargo net. So yeah, feel free, go get that.
I'm going to go get that. I'm going to click that after this and buy that damn cargo net. But I wonder if they're different based on your car. I wonder.
I wonder. Now Erica is on and she's a dog trainer and she's telling me that car seats for dogs or whatever is super unsafe, that you can only put them in the trunk. Well, Erica, sadly, I only have like a regular car, like a sedan. So does that mean I should
put your car in the trunk?
Right? I'm going to put her in the trunk. Not for nothing. We did that once. You know when? We didn't keep her in there permanently. but we had a car that had like a trunk area, like I think it was like a Mazda when I was doing one of those test drives, but you could put like the armrest down and then she could poke her head through. So technically she was in the trunk, but her head would just come through.
Well, Erica, I want to know, because when I had a dog, before I had children and the dog was my child, we had a little tether that you clipped right into the seatbelt that, clipped into the buckle, and then it attached to a harness.
She's saying no. Erica,
saying,
for strap puppy safety.
But it's better than nothing, right? That's the question. Because that seems like an overall, when talking to parents about car seat safety, that we don't want to, scare people and push them away with, you must do this, you must do that. But we want to make these children as safe as we can.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so visibly uncomfortable. It's ridiculous. Okay.
Okay.
It is prize time. If you would like to win this.
It's another $50 gift card.
Another $50 gift card. And I think what we should do is say, I'm going to go buy a cargo net. Like just say cargo net, because I realized that Julie, it's really true. That gallon of milk that I'm putting on the floor behind me as I'm driving by myself, if God forbid something happened. And when I'm driving in Jersey or whatnot, there's deer like everywhere. There's that stupid bear that haunts us, right? And then of course there's like random dogs and cats because it's like a nice little suburban area and everybody has their pets out. But that is definitely a projectile.
And it's even things that just secure whatever you can down. It's even things like a pencil. If you had a pencil coming at you that fast, it could stab you in the eye. These kinds of things that you don't think about, like what else is in my car that is, a CD cover, things like that. Like you should really show everything that you can in something that's going to hold it down.
Yeah, I can't even handle this right
now. I know. Thank you
for the question. By the way, thank you so much because this is really good for Julie and I. It was like, they're like, what do you want to do? Could we do something? We're like, yeah, we're down, because we're always down, because anytime that we could, get the word out about the JPMA, I'm always game. But in particular for Baby Safety Month, I can't imagine how this could have been done any better. I mean, really, it's really revolutionary. And it's funny because I have written down 1,000 things talking about, baby safety and kid safety. We haven't even gotten to the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. But can I just say one thing that for the people that are watching now, I really wish that I would have said it in the beginning. And I preach it a lot in Twiniversity classes, not always in Twiniversity classes. I like to remember it, but a safety thing that's not necessarily safety, but we're talking about things that you might not think about. And one of the big things is you guys got to have a go bag. If we have learned nothing from Houston and from Florida, there could be times when we don't necessarily have time to prepare to get out of our home like we would like to. I mean, even look in Mexico City. And by the way, Julie, that we had a student in Mexico City that I haven't heard from. I'm hoping that the internet's just down, but it's making me a little paranoid. But you should have a go bag. And I'm curious to know of how many of you guys do. And if you don't, I want to tell you what should be in that bag. And I'm not talking about like water and protein bars. I'm talking about that you should have copies of your kids' birth certificates, and they could be literal photocopies. All right. You need to have a copy of your passports. If you have passports, it doesn't even have to be the literal passport. Just have a copy of that. But that's going to have your passport number. And if you should ever need to get it replaced, that's going to help you out a hell of a lot if you have that number. Credit cards, just a photocopy of your credit cards, just the front, just the back. What if you have to cancel all of those credit cards? What if something really did happen and you evacuated and, you're not going to get fraud alerts on your phone, but you may want to say, hey, Amex, guess what? We're in this area. It's not so good. How are you going to know who to call? Make sure you get the back number, especially of customer service. And then the other thing, so simple, Social Security cards, a literal copy that says your name with your Social Security number. And if you had to apply, it's not always necessary, but I remember that when people were applying for FEMA and for service after 9/11, which, seems like 100 years ago in comparison, but they're sometimes, not all the time, sometimes they want proof. And sometimes your driver's license is good. Sometimes they do want a Social Security card. I don't remember why, but even if you don't show it to anybody, these are things that it's really easy to get a copy of if you have the original. So even if you had a copy of it or whatever, but have that ready to rumble. And I mean, it's just funny, but the birth certificate, regardless, even if you're going to, We used to take them on planes when we went, and now our original birth certificate for the twins, it's so bent and, you know, torn up and whatever that I can't even read it, that I wish that after the babies were born, I had immediately applied for a copy of their birth certificate so that I could have kept the originals kind of in pristine condition and then traveled with the others. But speaking of safety, you know, it's really important. And we just got, Julie, I didn't even tell you yet, but we just got an email from a friend that's down in Florida, and they have all these people that have evacuated from the Caribbean, and they have a lot of young moms and a lot of people that are expecting. And she's like, Nat, what could you do? And I'm like, you guys know I'm going to mobilize this. And so after we finish this call today, that's my priority, is that we're going to call our friends at Earth's Best, and I'm going to call our friends at Pampers, and I'll see what we could do for these families, because that's what we're about, right? We're about building our community. But it's interesting that, you know, we always think like, oh, it's not going to happen. And even somebody who's lived through Sandy, you know, in total denial that anything was going to happen. And meanwhile, we had no electric here for 4 days in New York City, which is an eternity. You know, when like the stock exchange is in walking distance, like if we lost power, it really goes to show that it's going to happen everywhere, and it has been. So make yourself a little go bag with just a few copies. If you want to, you know, have the actual copies with you, that's fantastic. If you want to have the copies with you and then make, you know, a copy and keep it on the cloud, that's not a bad idea. If you want to give your mom a copy that she lives, you know, in another state, just so that you have something. But please make sure that safety goes beyond the car seat, that you think a little bit more big picture.
All right, cool. Well, we have another question about car seats, this specifically on airplanes. Susan asks, should we bring car seats for our toddlers on the plane for them to sit in? I think this is a really good idea. And, you know, a lot of people will buy other car seats to bring with them so that like their nice car seats that they have at home don't get damaged or messed up or whatever. Like you could get like, you know, for $50 a Costco seat. That's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're really good seats. The benefit of that is that your child will have a place to really be secure, and then you'll be able to harness them in so they won't be, you know, trying to escape from their seat, as well as it's just safer. You know, if you hit some pretty bad turbulence, your child could fly out of their seat if they're not restrained. You know, we talk about lap infants a lot, and, you know, it is so much more expensive to buy an additional seat for that infant, but it's so much safer. So if you at all can work it into your budget, if you travel a lot, try to get additional seats for each infant. I know sometimes it's not possible with some people's budgets, but if your child is on your lap and you hit bad turbulence, your child can fly out of your arms.
Yes. Another little thing to do, it's sneaky and whatever, you know, I'm slightly corrupt in this fashion. But when you're booking your seats, if you can't afford that middle seat, but the plane looks wide open, book the window and book the aisle and leave the middle seat. Don't book the middle seat. And then because when you get on a plane, like let's say, well, you couldn't do that. You'd have to have.
They're going to put the car seats against the window.
They're going to put the car. Yeah, but I was thinking like you couldn't have 2 lap infants and then have you'd have to have that middle seat.
You can't have 2 lap infants in the same row anyway because of the airbags.
I mean, I know airlines have gotten like a little stingy, but I really wish that they would offer like a child rate again, because then people could, it's safer for everybody instead of splitting them up. So the car seat would go on the window side. Why the window side, Jewel?
Well, just because it's more convenient, and it's because it's so difficult to climb over.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have it, especially if it's rear facing, you don't want to have it in the center. There may be another reason, but that was one of the reasons we talked about in class.
Okay.
That they'll have them near the wall to just make it easier for other people to get out.
But yeah, if God forbid there was an emergency. Right?
Yes, and if there's an emergency, then it wouldn't be blocking people.
Yes.
Same thing.
Okay.
But you cannot use a booster seat on the airplane because it's only a lap belt.
Yes.
You must have a lap and shoulder belts to use a booster.
Okay.
So
but any of the infant car seat carriers, we're totally fine to take on.
Infant and front-facing and rear-facing convertible car seats, or a front-facing combination seat. A combination seat would be, only forward-facing with a harness that can then transition into a booster, or 3-in-1. We talked a lot about, how 3-in-1s could be a really great way to save money because it can rear-face and forward-face and then go to a booster. So.
Yes. Laura just put up a link to the seat that I believe Chelsea used, which was really good. So an inexpensive car seat, safe to use, really a good option. But yeah, I mean, everybody's seconding me. Is that the right term? For the family rate. I really wish they did, but that's why we've always flown like JetBlue and stuff like that, because once upon a time they were the least expensive. But we, even when we travel, we book it so far in advance. So try your best to do that. And another thing is even though the rates may be published, it's not nuts. Call the 800 number of the airline and ask them if there is a family rate. Sometimes there's not, but sometimes they could give you like the AARP rate, or maybe, you know, they have a certain allotment of seats for military families, and maybe you do qualify for a rate like that. So don't hesitate to call, because safety first and airplane safety is equally as important as car safety. All right.
And especially if you've got infants with you, it's a really good idea anyway to book through the phone, because your airline may have specific rules about lap infants and not having almost all airlines have that rule, if not all of them, that you can't have 2 lap infants in the same row because there's not enough oxygen masks. So right there, I think we got through all the questions. We're at an hour almost. We've been going on, and we really just talked about car seats.
We're wearing them out. Well, you know what? Maybe we will do this again, and we will talk specifically more about car seats. I know that I had a lot of other stuff to go through, but safety is something that always comes up. Usually, I mean, even when we do like the Love to Dream parties and stuff like that, it comes up, because that is sleep safety. Right? So we talked about strap safety today, but there's sleep safety, and then there's food safety, and then there's, you know, park safety and zoo safety. I mean, we could go on for days. So we hope that you guys really, really, really took to heart a lot of the pieces of information that we gave you. And also, I want to let you know that if you're doing everything wrong, just do it right today. Like, don't play the game called, what is it, Jewel? The 52 things I could have done differently 5 minutes ago. That's going to be my next book. Please, I have not copywritten that yet, but I will.
Is the domain available?
Julie, don't go there. You know me and my domain addiction. John sent me something yesterday that was a domain joke, but I do. I mean, but the first step is admitting you have a problem. I own too many domains, guys, but I never know. Every time I bought one yesterday, but I always use a coupon code, and I use my Ebates, which saves me an extra 7% on GoDaddy. So I'm fine. If I could register a domain for $1.99, I can't see why people just don't do it as much as I do. It's like my weird gambling that I do.
Oh, we have one more gift card to give away.
Oh, we have one more gift card to give away. So let's give away our one more gift card for you guys that, you know, that hung in with us. I know you're like our tried and true fans. So what should they have to say? How about we're going to be safer?
We're going to be safer.
You like it or you hate that?
No, sure. Why not? We're going to be safer. We promise.
We're going to be safer.
This is for the last $50 Visa gift card.
That is pretty cool. So for one more $50 gift card, thanks to our friends over at the JPMA, all you have to just say is, we want to be safer. Thank you so much. They're going to come directly from the JPMA to you. So Laura will reach out, get all your information. But thank you so much. And I really do hope that you are going to be safer. And I hope that the tips and tricks we gave you today are going to make your life a little bit easier, and also give you less guilt, because sometimes people are doing things right, but you don't know that it's 100% right. So anything we talked about today, I hope that it reassured you that you are doing the right thing. And if you're not doing the right thing, listen, you will, as of this minute at 11:30 Eastern time in New York City, today is the day, this moment is the moment that you're going to live a safer life now for your little babies. Jewel, anything to tell our family?
Well, we need to kind of talk a little bit more to allow people to answer and Laura to pick somebody. This is always my moment of panic at the end of it, when you're wrapping up too fast and I don't have time to pick a winner. Because once the feed is over, all the comments go crazy and they're not in the order anymore.
Oh, so Laura has to give me the green light.
Usually we have to get the green light from Laura that she has picked a winner before we can move on. What else can we talk about? Well, strap safety. Here's another strap safety: is anchoring furniture to the wall.
Oh, big one. Big one. How many times in our Twiniversity families do we have people that tip a dresser over and everybody's like, but that's, my baby's just a little, your babies might be little, but when they're acting as a team and trying to climb up the dresser to get, the baby powder to have a celebration or whatever. I don't even know if people are using baby powder, but I don't know why I had baby powder, but my kids often would take it and make it snow. So we stopped using baby powder very quickly when I
got for them to inhale it, it's really bad for their lungs. Safety Nazi.
As if we don't have enough lung problems. And now I think in hindsight.
That's why, right? Now you ruined your children with the baby powder.
I did, Julie, though. I did kids.
52 things that would have done differently 5 minutes ago.
It's
5 years.
Sore subject.
12 years ago. A winner has been picked. Hallelujah.
That's how we do it. All right, kids. Well, we will be back again soon. I don't know when our next live feed is, but it will be before you know it. But if you have any more safety questions, just email us at community@twiniversity.com. Send us a Facebook message. However, if you're watching this, at 2:30 this morning or in 17 weeks from now, this conversation never ends because this live feed did. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, and never, never, never forget that if you go over to the JPMA website, you're going to find a wealth of information on baby safety. So
babysafetyzone.org.
We update it. We write for them. They're over on our page. We are a wonderful little family, and we are honored to be a part of their community. So thank you so much for watching. What, Jewel?
babysafetyzone.org. That's the website you want to go to. And pretty soon they're going to be posting an article that I wrote on twin-specific safety tips.
Love it.
These are safety tips that are really is just a twin problem. So,
by the way, Lauren just joined. Lauren, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks for dropping by in the last minute.
Thanks. Classic Lauren. All right, kids, have a great day. Jewel, I'll see you in about 18 seconds.
Sounds like good. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.